These are the common mistakes that I see students make that make it really hard for their extracurricular to stand out in college applications. And one of them is they pick a hyper competitive field. And an example I like to use is imagine you're going for a D1 football scholarship versus a D1 fencing scholarship. So think about how many kids who play football. 100 are on a team, JV and varsity. And think about how many high schools have football teams, every single one. So if you want a D1 football scholarship, it's going to be a lot more competitive because you just have so many more people applying for it versus a D1 fencing scholarship. Think about the amount of people you know who fence. It's not many. So if you're going for that, not saying being a D1 fencer is easy by any means, you're just going to have less competition. And this can go for clubs. Like think about how many students are in speech and debate. How many people want to be the best at that? It's a lot of kids. Or if you want to be a president of a club, don't choose the largest club at your school. Maybe go for a niche, narrow club. Like for me, I was a part of the Avid Club. It's a college prep club, but not many kids were in it. So I was actually able to be very influential in that club and to achieve a lot of different things. And so that's one mistake I see a lot of kids make. The next one is they like to do what everyone else does because they feel like that's what they should be doing. So if you have a lot of friends who are volunteering at the YMCA because they're saying, oh, it'll be good for my college application, it's probably a red flag that you should not do that. If you see a lot of kids doing the same thing, it's probably not what you should be doing because it's not going to be unique and it's probably going to be hyper competitive because a lot of kids are doing it. And so if you're choosing an extracurricular just because your friends are, I would steer clear from that and call it a red flag. Try to do something that not many kids are doing. So how many kids conduct research with professors in high school? How many kids are applying for full-blown internships at companies or getting roles with that company that normally adults would have? Not many. But not to say if you're already heavily involved in a common activity, that's okay. And so a way out of that is since you're already heavily involved, you should have leeway with the people who run it to get different positions you normally wouldn't have. And an example is the Humane Society. So let's say you're involved in the Humane Society and you've been doing it for a couple of years. Great. But instead of doing the routine, maybe walking the dogs, cleaning the cages, try to get a job running their social media. That's going to be unique because you're running social media for a small business and you do it with the goal of increasing adoption rates for maybe at-risk dogs, maybe older dogs, pit bulls, dogs that aren't normally adopted. You start posting pictures, running social media, maybe holding events, and you can actually measure the increase before and after you started running social media and began marketing for that company. And you can do this with anything. And so that's just an example. So once again, to reiterate, don't pick a hyper competitive field and don't do what everyone else is doing. Try to be unique. And if you're already involved in a common club or activity, try to hold an event, make a difference within the club because you're already involved.